when we talk about interagency rivalry, and well, it's a big issue. If you say, we should be talking about giving them orientation, having a handbook on proper conduct. It's quite different from what you also try to highlight, which Mark will try to give you an example elsewhere. If we have a dire situation at hand, which central body do we all pull into? If we say you're a member of the police force and another is a member of the army and another the Department of State Security, so where do we now pull all of this information together to the extent that when we reach out we can say, okay, with ease, this is the information we're getting about this person? So that is why some Nigerians have been going around the geopolitical zones. They were here in Lagos and they say, well, let's work up a framework, a policy on security and safety so that we can have a direction whenever we have any of these challenges at hand. Don't you think that is important that we do?
You see, what they're doing or their intention makes sense. But this is not the first time such effort is coming up.
When did the last one?
I may not have data or dates right away, but let me also refer you to cases in Lagos here, where a building will collapse. LASEMA will get there, NEMA will get there, and then the issue of which should be in charge comes up. Whereas the primary responsibility of rescuing people will not be pushed to the background. Okay? So it's not about us on the individuals that are heading these units, how they perceive things. That's why I talk
they say they've sorted that one out.
Yeah, but
it was just a minor
repeatedly. It wasn't once. It happened severally. We suffered these things in Lagos severally then, and then it was coming up with Delhi. So maybe perhaps, like America ended up doing, we have a central information agency, okay, of ours, that we kind of clearinghouse, pushing what should get to who, okay, and on that platform, they will get information on the need to know basis, okay. Then we probably will know, okay, this concerns you. And once you then get to know about this, perhaps it's not your business.
But do you know that part of what I was trying to build up to at that time was they had the CIA when the 9/11 happened.
Yeah, they did.
And they did not share information with the FBI and some of these agencies when it happened. This is documented and it's everywhere.
We're on the same page.
And so
I said something
what they're saying here, because I think it was on the 9th of September this year that the president said, listen, that this lack of cohesion with secure intelligence community actually bothers him. That no matter how well they all do their jobs as individual agencies, they all exist to protect the government and the country. And he thinks, listen, they have to find a way to work together with respect to sharing information. They may be doing their jobs perfectly well, but just that bit of sharing information, that's what this is about.
Well, I mean, let me go back to what I said. CIA had their challenge. It was just an instance. And like I told you, most human organizations have imperfections, but nothing is static. We all keep improving, adding, removing, and moving forward. As it is here, the only thing that in my own opinion now, that can rescue us is to have a central body that will manage information. And of course, if it's going to be policy issue, as you rightly said, discarding all other things that they've had on ground and opening a new page, okay, let it be so. But it's important now that the issue of execution and operation are clearly spelled out.
Okay, but if you say we should have a central body,
when they have the information, it should get to whoever will need it to use it.
Shed some light more light on this. I mean, you say there should be that central body to have information to give to people on a need-to-know basis. Yeah. Why would you need that? Because if those agencies are doing their jobs perfectly, they have information. If I'm in a different unit and I need information and I call my colleague in another, he gives me the information.
In security, information is given out on the need-to-know basis. Okay? There are things, the army has no business, for instance, telling the police if we're having some external aggressors coming on us. It's not a police issue, right? Then the issue of Boko Haram, if the police were to have given the military early warning signal that, look, these people, we can no longer handle them, they will have been crushed much earlier than where we are now. That's why I say it should be given on need-to-know basis. You don't just throw crazy information around.
But of course,
I still would go with Marco's argument because tie it down to what Chamberlain said concerning the 9/11, which we all saw that there was complete non-compliance and non-conformity and cooperation with regards to information, to the extent, you know, that gave birth to the Homeland Security, the Department of the Homeland Security, pulling all of these agencies together to the extent that they can actually reduce and stop the terrorists from coming into their country. So if you look at us as a nation and as a people, we don't have a single body or agency or group that can actually have all of these people with their information to the table and work at stopping any of these evils coming into our nation. So that is why they say that perhaps we should be thinking of having that policy on security and safety. That should maybe be the start to getting that in place.
I said it earlier, maybe you didn't get me, that we certainly we can do with a central information agency in Nigeria as well.
But your fear is how we can safeguard such?
Yes, because you see, when it's great information, like I said, it's not what just throw around. It's not a market item. It's not a street thing. Okay, because you should ensure that what you are giving now is not going to the wrong hands, and of course that the person or the body getting information appreciates the value in it, whereby they can utilize and make sure they use it to the maximum.
One would
so
have
so
thought
that's why if that body will be there to regulate that. At the same time, there must be a regular meeting point for them, whereby they can talk across, exchange experience and all of that. So it's not just information, yes.
Some people will say that, you know, one of the reasons why people don't like to share information is also who gets the credit, who acts on information to get the credit. So, I mean, one of the things that the acts of these institutions doesn't spell out, you know, is who eventually gets credit, assuming you cooperate. Don't you think that that is something that a policy can actually tackle? So that there is no fear of the fact that agency A got the information, but agency B is getting the credit for information that we got.
You see, when we say getting credit for what? Because
eventually, how do you know which agencies of government are working and which ones aren't?
I don't want to look at it from that angle, because if at the end of the day we're able to tackle Boko Haram, for example, are you now expecting the army to come forth and say, oh, we did it, and start beating their chest? For what? The basic thing that
the army would not by themselves do that. Usually what will happen is that possibly the person in authority is commending the army. You know, so some other people everyone seems to be commending a particular agency and forgetting that they actually worked in conjunction with others.
If we run on that platform,
yes,
then we are missing the point. We've just moved far away from you have done what you're supposed to do.
We might be missing the point. I mean, it looks, but it's a very sensitive matter. Nobody likes to work for another person to get the credit.
If you say who takes, it's like Federal Internal Revenue Service and Customs competing over who brought in the highest revenue. It's not the issue of taking credit now. We should be looking more, encouraging them at the level of performing, delivering value for all that the country is expending to sustain the organizations.
So for you, are you saying that giving credit is a non-issue?
I have not said. I mean, when it comes to security, what's about giving credit? I mean, it's a teamwork thing. So why do you have to be? I mean, why was anybody think they must be isolated and then be fairly commented? It doesn't work that way. Like we agreed here that it's a ministry with different departments. Either of you cannot come out there and say, hey, if not for me, soldiers will not fly.
We've not been saying that. What we've been saying are individual security agencies holding their individual press conferences. That's what you see on television. You know, saying, well, we did this. We came up, our agency did this and our agency did that, and this is the result of it. Rarely do you see agencies, you know, agencies or PROs of different agencies sitting together and say, this was what we worked on and this is the result of it. It rarely happens.
Yeah, but I agree with you. What you see on television, when each time they address the media, for me, they're only showing off.
What do you mean?
I don't want to know you've arrested an armed robber or you picked a terrorist or whatever. All I want is the peace. I want to be able to move without having to bother my head about, oh, am I safe within the road? We should move away from that. It's a backward mentality thing. You now come and say you've been looking at an armed robber for 10 years. Just gotten him. I don't want to know all of that.
Yeah, but
all I want to know,
even abroad that happens. But let us. The reason why that might be important is so that, you know, if you've been safe and secure, and you shouldn't take it for granted, because some people are working behind the scenes to make sure that you're actually able to enjoy your freedom.
We know that these bodies are there. You and I know that it is for them to secure us.
We also know, Mr. Dende, we also know that when once in a while, you know, the skirmishes, the first thing we will say is, where are the security agencies? Nobody is seeing them. They're not doing any work.
It's a normal thing. Why? Because that is their forte. And then you expect them to be there. Okay? So it's when they fail to be there that people will ask questions. And it is a normal thing. So I'm still going back to what I said earlier on. We need to have a central body that will disseminate information as may be needed in a way that you don't give information into wrong hands. Then they seriously should also discourage credit taking. Okay?
Not credit taking. You seem to be misunderstanding my point. I'm not saying that they take the credit. They're usually given. Credit is more given than taken. What you usually get is people saying, oh, this agency of government is working better than this agency of government.
Let me give you a live example now. We've been having issues of oil theft, and everybody knows that this thing takes place in the high seas, where the Navy is supposed to be in charge. Now, if they arrest a barge carrying X amount of crude oil, it's not enough reason for them to now come on air and start beating their chest. That's why I call it credit taking. I mean, who is giving the credit anyway? We should move away from that mentality.
Don't they do it all over the world?
It's not. Don't stop saying all over the world. We don't follow the masses to do wrong. Because they do it everywhere doesn't make it right with us. Yeah.
So I don't like that idea. You're saying that if they catch criminals, you should just keep quiet about it.
It's not an issue to beat your chest about. That's why you are there in the first place. The same thing, a council chairman will build one classroom somewhere and then call the whole world. She wants to launch a classroom.
That's totally different.
It's the same thing.
Mr. Dende, that there are two ways of looking at it. That, you know, an agency of government or a security agency calls the media to say, hey, see, we caught these people. We have been looking for them for the past 10 years. We finally caught them. That could just be an announcement. That could be plain,
but the way they do
letting them know.
The way they do it, which you have equally mentioned, is to earn some feathers. Not because they want to tell you, but they want to impress it on you that we are working. And we don't need that, for God's sake.
You don't need
the chest beating thing. No. Maybe they could devise more. There are other formats that they
it's
could
amazing
deploy.
Because, I mean, during the time that in the wake of all of this bombings here and there, lots of people said they were not working. And then when they actually had to impress upon people, well, listen, you don't have to lose hope. We're trying to do what we can.
It is nice.
No, I'm saying you say you don't need to know that they're working.
We just want to just feel that they're working. Here is blowing.
Are we taking for granted that this thing should just happen without us working to ensure, putting in place checks and balances?
Those bodies have been established to ensure those things happen.
Shall we just fold the hands because they've been established? These chaps are coming together to ensure
maybe
that all this happens.
On a twice annual basis, there can be a report indicating what they have done. Not on this weekly, monthly, or daily thing. You are seeing a CP from one state on Prime TV that they've arrested criminals and all of that. I mean, it doesn't add up. We should move away from that. It's just chest beating.
All right,
and I'm not for it any day.
Mr. Dende Aria is a security consultant. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you too.